Good morning, everybody. This is Jared Palmgren, host of the Chasing the Natty podcast. And the other side of me, as always, is my lovely and faithful co-host who is always on time to whenever we have to record these things, Xavier Hood. Xavier, how you doing this morning?
Still trying to wake up, second vaccine, finally fully vaccinated. So that's a great thing to get out the way.
If I had a soundboard, I would give you a little party blower,
Oh, yeah. But, I wish I can go back into my bed, but we can't. We have business to handle because we have a full slate of games and things to do with our fantasy team. So
indeed. So this is, for those of you who don't know, this is the podcast, the weekly podcast that Xavier and I will be producing. It'll come out at variable times throughout the week, depending on when our first players will be playing their game. So this week, we wanted to get this out yesterday on Wednesday. However, I'm a dumbass, and I realized after we finished recording that my mic was muted the entire time, and so Xavier just sounded like he was talking to himself the entire time. So here we are again, the next day. Our first games are tonight, so we got to get this done. We got to figure out who will be starting in this league. What's different about this league compared to our other leagues is that Xavier and I are being forced at gunpoint to share a team in this league. We just had too many people want to get into this league. And so John Lobb, who's been organizing this whole thing, God bless his soul, asked that Xavier and I share a team. And I said, you know what? I feel like it'll be very, very entertaining stuff for everybody to hear the discussion that Xavier and I have in terms of who we start every single week. Because we have this discussion with our own leagues every single week, when we don't have our own teams, but now we have to share one, so we have to come to a consensus. So are you ready to get started on this, Xavier?
Absolutely.
All right. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go through our team, and we're going to do the whole sit-start discussion. We're going to go position by position, decide who we want to start at each position. And then afterwards, we're going to then go look at our opponent, and we're going to kind of talk about where we think we might have some matchup advantages, where we have some weaknesses, and We'll give a prediction as to whether or not we win. So we'll go ahead and move on to this next slide over here. You guys can all see the Fantrax page up and running. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're on the podcast, I will do my best to describe who all we're talking about and who all, what position we're trying to determine and everything. So yeah, let's get started. We'll just start at the top with quarterbacks. Xavier, what are your thoughts on who we should start at quarterback?
So we have a very different variety of quarterbacks. We have 4 quarterbacks on our roster. Sam Howell, UNC, he plays Virginia Tech on Friday. CJ Stroud, Ohio State, he plays today at 8 against Minnesota. We also have JT Daniels, UGA quarterback. He plays Clemson at 7:30 on Saturday. And Caleb Ellaby, Western Michigan, he plays Michigan at Saturday at 12. So, I think it's a pretty clear-cut decision on who we should really start for this week. I think we should start 2 best quarterbacks, the guys that we took in the 2 early rounds, which were Sam Howell and CJ Stroud, considering the games that they're playing and the talent that they have and where we took them. We might as well use them. So I feel like we're pretty much in agreement and compliance on this, unless you have any differing opinions on maybe throwing in a Caleb Ellaby for the upside. But I don't think you could convince me otherwise with these other 2 guys.
No, I mean, I love Caleb Ellaby, but also that Michigan defense gives me enough pause to not worry about it there. The other thing is we have CJ Stroud, Sam Howell. As you mentioned, we drafted these guys early for a reason. These are guys we're going to want to, are going to be pretty much our default guys in this league unless things start changing, they fail or whatever. These are going to be the guys that we're going to be wanting to start every single week. In addition to that, they're playing 2 games where they're unlikely to be pulled out early. And if they are pulled out early, it's because they've already had a hell of a day. CJ Stroud is playing against Minnesota. He's going to be that's a Big Ten matchup. They're not going to want to pull him out of that unless they're 100% sure that they've already crushed Minnesota. Sam Howell, same thing with Virginia Tech. If they're already crushing Virginia Tech, I have a feeling it has a lot to do with Sam Howell's arm. And also, again, I expect Virginia Tech to keep it close enough to where Sam Howell is going to be forced to stay in the game. So again, I think that we'll be seeing these guys all 4 quarters, and that's one of the best things that you can just kind of guarantee with your quarterbacks going into the week. So now we'll move on to running backs, and this is where, oh boy, there's a lot of question marks for us here. So we have currently in our starting role, we have Tyler Algier, running back out of BYU. He's playing Arizona this week. We have Kenneth Walker, running back out of Michigan State, playing Northwestern this week. In our flex, we have two more running backs. We have Ty Chandler playing Virginia Tech. And then we also have Demontre Tuggle playing Syracuse this Saturday. On our bench, the running backs we have three running backs on our bench. We have Jalen Berger, running back out of Wisconsin. We have Ches Malusi, running back out of Wisconsin. And we have Mayan Williams, running back out of Ohio State. I guess this is also the part where I should probably mention who we've dropped from our team since the draft. Because if you notice, there's already a couple differences here. We dropped Bo Corrales. He was our last pick in the draft for Mayan Williams. Once I started hearing that Mayan Williams would be getting that starting role at the running back position at Ohio State, I'm like, okay, even if there is split carries and everything, I want to just have him on my team in case he is able to take over that running back room. And Xavier agreed with me. And then in a somewhat of I don't want to say a panic move, but when Jalen Berger was listed as RB2 for Wisconsin, we both agreed that it was worth it to just go ahead and handcuff Ches Malusi on our bench, just so we can see how that running back room plays out, see if it's going to be truly a split carry all the way through, or if one of these guys takes over. Regardless, if one of these guys takes over, we're going to want to have him on our roster. So those are the two big moves. Anyway, that's all our running backs and everything. So Xavier, you kind of started with quarterbacks last time. I guess I'll just kind of talk through my thought process here on running backs. So we have Kenneth Walker as a starting running back, but I just don't feel comfortable with that 100%. Like, I would rather see again, there's not a huge difference between like who's our starting running backs and everything, but I like to consider like the people we have on the bubble at the flex position, if that makes any sense. That way I can just organize it better in my head. Because like I feel like Ty Chandler and Tyler Algier, those are our two best bets this week at running back. Not that they're great bets, but they're our best bets that we have on our roster.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And then, so now I think it's just determining, do we want to move Ches Malusi, Mayan Williams, or Jalen Berger up into that flex position over Kenneth Walker, Demontre Tuggle? So Xavier, I'm curious, what are your thoughts here?
So yeah, we've done a little tinkering behind the scenes, just a little bit. So originally we did have Ches Malusi in our starting lineup for a second, just for a quick second. And there's been discussion about Mayan Williams possibly becoming being inserted in our flex position. But I feel really comfortable with Demontre Tuggle and Kenneth Walker at our flex. And our starting running backs, I feel like, are solidified. I think they have the best chance of staying in and the best chance of maximizing the amount of points that they receive. Now, it just depends on what we're going to do with our flex. Demontre Tuggle is facing a Power 5 opponent. Now, he is the bulk of that offense for Ohio. So that is the upside of like, yeah, he's going to get the touches. Syracuse is not a great Power 5 team, but sometimes, MAC opponents versus Power 5 teams, things don't usually go out that way. But Syracuse is, notoriously bad, just all around. So there can be upside for that game, and the amount of touches that he receives intrigues both of us. But it has me a little bit hesitant of like, say if a Ches Malusi or a Mayan Williams, they play for Power 5 programs. They're at, coveted schools known for producing great backs and having higher upside. So just a little bit hesitant. Kenneth Walker is who somebody I'm really high on. Michigan transfer from Wake Forest to Michigan State. Talk to camp is that he could be the next 1,000-yard receiver for that offense. Receiver, running back. It'd be great if he could be a receiver too. That would, probably put him in like a top 5 pick right there if he was good receiver and running back. No, I'm just kidding. But all in all, like, yeah, I'm really comfortable with Kenneth Walker there because they're facing Northwestern, which is a very, good. They've been a good defense in the past, especially last year. But they are, losing players. They are returning some starters on defense. But Kenneth Walker and that Michigan State team, they're looking for that identity on offense, and it seems like they're going in the trend of relying on their running backs. And Kenneth Walker was named outright RB. Well, actually, we don't know that yet.
That's what I was about to bring up here, is that we haven't gotten a depth chart from Michigan State. And so as much as I want to believe in Kenneth Walker being the RB1 at Michigan State, they have other options there, like Harold Joyner from Auburn. There's another one I can't remember off the top of my head, but they got a couple other options there. Now, I still think Kenneth Walker's the best option there, the one with by far the most experience, and clearly can be a goal line back for them easily. But also, again, it's just that unknown. Again, uncertainty, you got to hate it in fantasy. So again, I think Demontre Tuggle is safe at flex. Again, going up against a Power 5 opponent, I understand there's a lot of hesitancy there, but dude still averaged 17 carries per game, even in the losses last year for Ohio.
Yeah, he only played 3 games?
Only 3 games, but even still, they were still he was still being used in almost every one of their games. So yeah. I feel like he's still going to get plenty of work in this game regardless, and it's still a better option than Ches Malusi or Jalen Berger, because we're still not entirely sure how that's going to play out there, especially against Penn State. We don't know. I just don't see a ton of scoring opportunities in that game. I think that's going to be a very, very low scoring game. Each team doesn't break 25. In addition to that, Mayan Williams, again, God, if I just knew that he was just locked up the RB1 spot at Ohio State, I would love to play him this week, but I just am not there yet to fully make that decision. So I do think that. See, now I'm thinking, because Kenneth Walker, we don't know his role on this offense yet. There's no depth chart or anything like that. But Mayan Williams, we know the role he's going, or we know the role that he's more likely going to play. He's going to get that first snap, which indicates he's probably going to get, I'm not going to say a majority of the snaps, but probably a plurality of snaps at Ohio State. Ohio State's a better offense than Michigan State. So I just think there's going to be better scoring opportunities for Mayan Williams than maybe Kenneth Walker here. What do you think, Xavier?
I'll say this. I disagree. I think CJ Stroud. Yeah, I think CJ Stroud is a good enough dual threat quarterback to where he'll be able to use his legs as well. Because I think his only score last season was with his legs.
It was,
if I'm not mistaken. So this shows me that he has the ability to move the offense, with his mobility. And also they have a great receiver core where they don't have to rely on the running back to, have 100 yards. They have great, all first round talent receivers in Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and a whole slew of freshmen that they have right behind them that can go in at any time if one of them drop off. So I just don't see Mayan Williams, coming into that role and being a maximizer for our week in terms of, it's a possibility that he can, solidify that RB1 position. But they also have Travion Henderson, who everybody has been high on this past offseason.
Of course, people love the shiny new toy.
Oh yeah.
Whenever
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. With Mayan Williams, we saw a little bit. Yeah, this is the struggles of podcast when you're not in the same room.
Oh, joke.
But we've seen Mayan Williams with a small sample size last season. He was behind. Oh God, why am I forgetting his name? Went to the San Francisco 49ers.
Trey Sermon.
Yeah, we saw Trey Sermon last year take up that entire role. Master Teague was damn near irrelevant at the times, and he's probably going to be that this season, not being named RB1. I don't even think I think he's with the RB2, or either he's at RB3.
Maybe.
So, we'll see, but I just feel like
one other tidbit I want to throw in here was going into the championship game last year against Alabama. There was a lot of talk about Mayan Williams, that the coaching staff was ready to give him a significant workload in the championship game against Alabama, but then he got COVID right before the game and was taken out. So we never really got to see that. But to me, it is indicative that this coaching staff really likes Mayan Williams. And the fact is now he's going to probably get that first snap against Minnesota, or the first running snap against Minnesota. So that tells me that, again, I think the upside of Mayan Williams is higher than Kenneth Walker's this week.
I don't know. I feel like the let's see, how do I want to phrase this? The gap in talent from the RB1 or the presumptuous RB1 at Ohio State, which has been named Mayan Williams, and then Travion Henderson that's right below him. I don't think it's that large. Now with Kenneth Walker, transfer from Wake Forest, where he was a top 5 scoring running back last year. And then, you have Boyd and all those other guys that you named.
Yes, but I understand what you're talking about and everything. But again, here's my thing. which team's going to have more scoring opportunities? Ohio State against Minnesota or Michigan State against Northwestern? Michigan State versus Northwestern is going to be an old school Big Ten ground and pound. Maybe both, like, you'll be lucky if both teams break 20 points.
Oh no, but then even if that, like, we don't need, a shootout or anything, or just like, running up the score. Like, we just need Kenneth Walker to get majority of those carries. Like, if he's
but we don't know that. We haven't gotten a depth chart or anything. Like, what happens if a depth chart comes out today and Kenneth Walker has an or next to his name with Harold Joyner or again, I keep forgetting these other guys' names, but like another running back. Like, there's a three tandem running back there. Mm-hmm. Like what? Like, we don't know that. That could be the case. That's what we're playing with here.
Yeah,
and,
we're playing with that.
And I would rather take Mayan Williams in that situation at Ohio State, where there's more touchdowns likely to be had among the entire team, rather than Kenneth Walker, where if he's part of a 3-back committee and in a much lower scoring game, I'd rather have Mayan Williams there.
Yeah. Or I could play the other side and say we could get the outright Kenneth Walker is that RB1, and then we just missed out on a 100-yard gain and maybe a touchdown or two. Rather than Maya Williams,
that's what makes this hard. Like, again, it's not an easy decision.
Because I think this with Ohio State, say Maya Williams comes out and the first few snaps is pretty good, but then Trevion Henderson just comes onto the scene and bursts out there, and it just looks like he's about to run away with it. Then we just wasted putting in somebody that got a little bit of action. He's still a great talent, but Trevion Henderson came into camp, and they're talking about a transcendent running back talent that can start today. So,
but he's not.
He's not, because it's Ohio State. But a lot of other schools, he would be starting today or Saturday, whatever day that he would play.
I know what you mean. I'm gonna cede this to you. We're gonna keep Kenneth Walker, I think, in the lineup. Okay. Just know if Mayan Williams has the better day on. Mayan Williams has the better day between two.
Call me out.
And I don't know if I'll go on Twitter and everything, but just know you'll be getting some texts thrown your way. I'll be saying I told you so.
And then when Kenneth Walker has that great day that I'm hoping for,
that's fine. I think this is absolutely a fair, like, I told you so moment. Like, if one of us wins this side, we can absolutely say I told you so. Regardless, let's go ahead and move on to our wide receivers.
Yeah.
Do you want to start that discussion?
Sure. So who we have at our starting receiver is we spent our first round pick on the presumptuous number one wide receiver in David Bell. Now, there's a lot of argument between David Bell and Keyshawn Butte for that wide receiver one, but they're in a tier of their own. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we got good value there at the 7th pick, I believe.
Yes.
Or the 8th pick.
7th
pick. I really like. He's going against Oregon State. Jack Plummer has been named the starter. So him, it didn't really matter who was going to be the quarterback because David Bell just produces with either guy. O'Connell or Plummer would have done great with him, and he's going to get a lot of work and a lot of touches and a lot of targets and a lot of receptions and possibly a lot of touchdowns. So it's just a no question he's starting. Now we have Sam Pinkney, Georgia State wide receiver. He is the wide receiver number one for that Georgia State offense, but they are facing Army. And with military schools, they always get tricky, especially Army, because they like to shut down the one thing that you're good at. So they will be keying in on Sam Pinkney.
Not only that, again, like Army's just one of those teams that is just good at what they do. They slow down the game. Does nobody remember the 28-21 finish they had with Oklahoma? I think they're probably the only team that year that held Oklahoma under 30 points that year. Like, that was an insane game. It went to overtime.
Was going through some struggles at that point. Spencer Rattler wasn't fully the guy that
no. This is a couple years ago. I think it was with
a couple years ago.
I think it was with Kyler Murray, if I remember correctly. I'll look it up real quick. But if you want to keep talking about the wide receivers, I'll double check that.
Sam Pinkney is a little bit on the bubble fence. Like, he's questionable for now. But we'll get to our last starting receiver, Garrett Wilson at Ohio State. I think it's just the stack that he has with our starting quarterback, C.J. Stroud, and the upside of him being, a great wide receiver for that Ohio State offense. It's a debate between Olave and Wilson, who's going to be the better receiver this year. And we just happen to go with Wilson. Like, I love both players. It's really hard, but I was fine with having either one. As long as we had either one, I was going to be happy.
By the way, I just looked it up. It was with Kyler Murray.
Oh, okay.
Trey Sermon played in that game too.
Nice little tidbit. All right. We'll move on to our reserves. We have Rakeem Jarrett, sophomore. He was a stud freshman last year, a true freshman wide receiver out of Maryland, facing West Virginia on Saturday at 3:30. He has Talia Tagovailoa, and he is presumed to be that next great talent at Maryland at wide receiver. Now, he does have competition with him and Dante DeMoss, but it's just really hard to pick between those two. Like, they're both good receivers. It's just the only thing is, like, Dante DeMoss is a good receiver as a senior. Rakeem Jarrett is very young and still has much more to grow, so obviously he has the higher potential, but we don't know if he's going to achieve that potential just yet. But they are facing a West Virginia team, Big 12 opponent. No, defensively challenged. So I like him in that game to where he will see action. He will get a lot of targets. He probably will have a lot of yards and maybe a touchdown possibly. So I do like Rakeem Jarrett in that game, and I'm considering him possibly starting.
Okay.
Then we have Charleston Rambo, Miami, Florida junior, transfer from Oklahoma. He is facing Alabama. I would not in any way.
I love Rambo. Starting against Alabama as a non-starter. I'm not doing that to Rambo.
If we ever did that, one of us is in a straitjacket and we got loose and we got our phones.
Anyway, last receiver.
Last receiver, we have Tyler Snead at ECU. He's facing App State, if I'm not mistaken. Sometimes these abbreviations can be very confusing.
Yes.
But he is facing App State. It's a tough toss-up. I know Jared believes that Snead is that number one receiver at ECU. I do so too, but I don't think he's the best receiver. I believe CJ Johnson is. Now, CJ Johnson didn't have the greatest season last season because he had a lot of drops. He had a great freshman campaign. The sophomore year, he just had a slump. So a lot of people are having high hopes that he can put it together and, reemerge as that great receiver that he came into being. Tyler Snead is just that consistent guy, which I'm fine and I'm happy with the floor and the consistency that we have with Tyler Snead. But the upside of CJ Johnson just always just like I love high upside guys. I'd rather be burned than have mediocre teams, but then also have the possibility of the high reward of oh my god, this guy's amazing.
Fair enough.
But it's a safe pick. But I mean, I feel like for our team, it's just not probably not in our best interest. We're not expecting Tyler Snead to have 150-yard game and maybe a touchdown or two.
Not against App State, no. I trust that defense enough to slow ECU's offense down just a little bit. You kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. If there's one change I probably would make here, it would be Rakeem Jarrett over Sam Pinckney. Because again, I just don't like that matchup with Sam Pinckney going up against Army. That's a team that likes to take away the pass, force you onto the ground. And Georgia State does have good running backs. They got Destin Coates there. Quad Brown is a dual threat quarterback himself. So I actually expect Quad Brown to have a pretty decent day there, especially on the ground. I don't expect him to be throwing a ton. But even regardless of all that, I just feel like betting on talent against what is probably just an all right West Virginia defense.
Yeah, and then they lost a lot of their secondary too as well.
That's true. Oh my God, you are totally right. They lost their defensive backs coach. Oh no. Yeah. Oh
and man, lost, the other guy to defensive back to Auburn.
They did Miller.
Yeah. So they're losing a lot.
Bro, you are making some sense here. Oh, okay. Yeah. You know what? I'm with you. All right, I think we take Rakeem Jarrett over Sam Pinckney. Now that's not going to be something I'm doing in week in and week out, but I'm just liking. I'm liking the matchup here. Now that I completely forgot they lost all that defensive back talent. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make that move. Rakeem Jarrett over Sam Pinckney into it. Now, Xavier, you and I are of similar minds where we usually like to put running backs in at our flex. But I do want to just throw this idea out there. Sam Pinckney is the number one wide receiver for Georgia State. We know his role in that offense. And he's a good enough wide receiver to where he is still going to get some work in this Army game, even if it's not as high of a ceiling as he normally does. Do we put him in over Kenneth Walker?
That's a tough decision. I knew you were going down this route, and I wasn't fully prepared to make that, not to make that call. It's so weird because
Because like I feel weird benching Sam Pinckney because I know he could just go off in games sometimes, and we know his role in that offense. He is the number one wide receiver.
It is. It's very interesting, and it's like we give Army credit, to being able to shut down and throw some weird curveballs in games. But Army's still not like, the greatest team in the world. Like teams are still going to be able to put up points on them.
Mm-hmm.
And even Georgia State's not like the greatest team in the world. Georgia State still has like great pieces around them. And, with their running back room, Dustin Coates not even named like the number one running back. He's, I think, a co-starter either. It's an or between his names.
He's going to be the number one running back.
We'll see.
It's been his role the past couple of years. He's not going to lose it.
Things have changed.
But, fair, maybe so, regardless.
But yeah, Sam Pinckney is that number one. It's very tricky. This is a full PPR league or half PPR?
Full PPR league.
We have full PPR. Oh, this makes it even more interesting. This is gonna come down to a gut call.
My gut's saying put in Sam Pinckney. Full PPR.
Full PPR.
Even if he's okay, remember Xavier. Even if he's getting short passes in this game, just the act of him catching a ball alone is worth the equivalent of an additional 10 yards.
Yeah.
Which is why PPR leagues are dumb. Anyway,
they are. Back in my day. I don't know. It's just tough because, we love running backs.
I know. I'm with you usually that running backs in the flex are usually the go-to option because they're just going to get more touches.
Because Michigan State's passing game is just absolutely atrocious.
It is awful. But also, Xavier, again, we don't know Kenneth Walker's role. Here, let me hold on. Let me do something real quick. I'm going to go look up Georgia State's I'm going to look up Georgia State's stats from last year. I'm going to go and find Sam Pinckney's worst game.
Okay.
So, sorry, Sam Pinckney. Found him. Game log. All right. So, last year, his worst game came against UL Monroe, actually. He had only one reception for 8 yards in that game, so oof. His next lowest one was, I forgot that Coastal Carolina absolutely annihilated them 51-0. Yeah, he had 2 receptions for 15 yards in that game. That's a good defense right there, so he might get limited there. But every other game, 4 for 21, 7 for 134, 6 for 146, 5 for 53, 4 for 74, 5 for 176, 10 for 126. And then the last game was 3 for 62. So he gets work in every game that he's going to have.
Yeah. But I'm looking up at Kenneth Walker's stats from last season. I know it's a different team, Wake Forest, but I just like to see the production. Mm-hmm. From September 19th to October 17th, that's a 3-week span. He had over 100-yard games. Mm-hmm. Now, he showed that he can, handle the workload of having 20-plus carries. Like in the first game against NC State, he had 27 carries for 131 yards and 3 touchdowns that game. Mm-hmm. The second game, he went against Campbell, a softer opponent, so he had 11 carries for 105 yards and a touchdown. Softer team. Then he played Virginia 23 for 128 and had 3 touchdowns as well. Oh, man, it's just tough because it's just I like Kenneth Walker's talent more than anybody else on that roster. Mm-hmm. And it is Northwestern. It is
but we're also again, I'm with you, Xavier. If I was the coach of Michigan State, I probably would be giving Kenneth Walker all the carries, at least from the information that I have right now. We're also not behind the scenes. We're not there. We're not Mel Tucker there on the sidelines every single day of practice watching these guys. We don't know what he's thinking in terms of how he wants to use Kenneth Walker. We have a pretty good idea of what Sam Pinckney's role is in this Georgia State offense.
Yeah, that is true. It's just the Army factor. Always just throws a curve.
Yeah, again, if they were playing a lesser defense than Army, I probably would take it. But also, never mind.
I feel like this is what we need to do probably in research, like in a real time, like right now. look, we need to look at Army's like last year games.
Yeah,
and
I can pull that up real quick.
And see like when they played, who were they playing? Who were the top receivers? Did they shut down like number ones? Did they do things like that?
Here,
if Sam Pinckney is targeted.
Let me take a look. So let's go to the 2020.
2020.
They start off against Middle Tennessee. Their highest receiver. Wait, no, never mind. The highest receiver against them in that game had Army had 33 yards, 4 receptions for 33 yards. Against UL Monroe, UL Monroe is not exactly a good offense, but Josh Peterson had 5 receptions for 56 yards. Cincinnati.
I'm looking at Cincinnati now. Deshaun Jackson.
Well, Deshaun Jackson, 4 receptions for 75 yards.
Yeah, but Michael Young Jr. did have 5 receptions for 60 and had a touchdown.
Oh, nice. Abilene Christian, their leading receiver had 11 receptions for 101 yards.
Let's see.
The Citadel had their leading receiver had 2 receptions for 55. UTSA Harrison had 1 reception for 53 yards.
UTSA had Zachary Franklin with 12 receptions, 138 yards, and 2 touchdowns against Army.
Oh, I'm looking at the Army. Oh yeah. So yeah, it looks like these receivers can definitely break out.
Yeah, they definitely can, and that gives me a little bit more comfort. I'm saying. I'll say this.
I'm now officially leaning Sam Pinckney.
I'll go with it for now. It's not my personal choice. Like, we are sharing a team, so sometimes we're just gonna have to make compromises. But I'm willing to nudge on this compromise. Now, if Kenneth Walker does go off, I will say make some comments on Twitter.
That's fine.
Kenneth Walker, like, there will be like things that people are gonna look back to this podcast and like, yep. Xavier might have been onto something, but it's okay. If not, then I'll stay quiet.
I have a feeling this flex spot is going to be like, people are going to look back on it and be like, yep, that's where they lost right there. Yep. Or that's where they won right there.
Absolutely.
In addition, we'll just go through tight end real quickly. Michael Meyer or Josh Wiley, those are our 2 tight ends on the team. I like Michael Meyer getting full 4-quarter play against Florida State. He's probably the best receiving option on Notre Dame's team at the moment, unless somebody breaks out. I like him in full PPR. So I say we keep Michael Meyer. No real discussion there?
Yeah, I will say I like Wiley against Miami of Ohio. Like, maybe Cincinnati might mix it up a little bit, show that Desmond Ridder has that arm talent and pass a little bit more.
True, but they have
running backs. Yeah.
I would say they have other options.
They have a lot of other options. So, it is what it is. I still like Michael Meyer as a better tight end. So, yeah, there's no
debate here. Alrighty. So we'll go ahead and move on to who we're playing. So we're playing Nick Allen from CFB Winning Edge. I'll just kind of run through his team real quick, who he has in the starting lineup. And we'll just kind of, Xavier, you'll name one weakness that you think you see in this matchup for us, and I'll name one strength. And then we'll both make the decision whether or not we think we win this week or not.
Yeah.
So on Nick Allen's team, he has his 2 starting quarterbacks are Grayson McCall and Keaton Slovis. His 2 starting running backs are Tank Bigsby and Breece Hall. His 3 wide receivers are Jordan Addison, Jahan Dotson, and Travell Harris. His tight end is Isaiah Likely, and his 2 flexes are Anais Smith and CJ Verdell. So Xavier, what is one area you think we lose this matchup in? Like, what position do you think our matchups are just not great? I have a feeling
running back.
Yeah, I would say he's running back.
100% running back. He has 2 top 10 running backs.
5, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, it will be interesting to see, like, for PPR, is Tank Bigsby going to move into that, kind of sort of receiver back role? Because he's just, it's not like, I haven't seen it yet. I just know he's a powerful and hard runner for what I saw at Auburn. But I know he can get receiving work as well. I saw a little bit last year, but is he going to, take on that different, show a different versatility in his game? And Auburn is not expected to be that good in the SEC this year. I mean, maybe it gets out of conference opponents. They do play Central Michigan first, or no? They play
that's
somebody
Missouri.
else first.
Akron,
That's
they
Missouri.
play first.
They play Akron first. So it will be interesting to see how that offense looks. Bo Nix and a lot of other pieces on that offense. But Takes Bigsby is the star of the show. Breece Hall, number one running back. You know, it's a big debate about those top three guys with Bijan, Muhammad, and Breece. But Breece just has the higher floor and still has a high ceiling. Like he can be like it. It just depends on if Iowa State wants to have him in that Heisman campaign. Are they going to push for his Heisman campaign and rack up his stats? Like, are they going to end his day after 2 touchdowns and maybe over 100 yards? Or are they going to keep him in and he's going to have like a bigger day of 200? We just don't know with Breece Hall. He's going to score. That's all we're going to say. We know he's going to score.
My Iowa State friends are not going to be very happy with me with what I'm about to say, but Iowa State always struggles in the first game of the season, so it is also very likely that Breece Hall could see the full game here.
Yeah.
So, now you're right. Scary. He will score. Like, there will be one touchdown, at least, that goes to Breece Hall.
Yeah. What's that one saying? It's like, if we do know one thing, it's kind of like a biblical saying. Like, I don't know. There's like 3 guarantees in life, like church on Sunday, and then Breece Hall scoring on Saturday, and then you throw in a third option.
Oh no, I always heard that there's always 3 guarantees in life, and it's like death, taxes, and then you throw some third option in there.
That's
I'm going with there are 3 guarantees in life: death, taxes, and Breece Hall scoring a touchdown for Iowa State this week.
Yeah, that's the scary thing. Now, I will say, I will bring out another weakness. I do. I think we have I wouldn't say it's a weakness, but more of a positional advantage. Our quarterback room is better than Nick Allen's.
Oh, you stole my thunder. I was supposed to do the advantage.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I don't know. I always think, like, for our team, advantages are other teams' weaknesses, even though they're not that bad. So I was getting excited. But, yeah, you can speak a little bit more onto that. Like, yeah, I think we definitely have the positional advantage at quarterback. But I'll let you elaborate more. I'm
agreeing 100%. I do think we have the matchup advantage at quarterback. He has 2 good quarterbacks. Grayson McCall, Keanu Slovis are both good quarterbacks. I'm not poo-pooing on them too much. Although I'm not the biggest Slovis fan in the world. I actually made the hot take in a group chat not too long ago where I don't think he finishes as the QB1 for USC by the end of the year. But even still, you got Keanu Slovis against San Jose State. San Jose State's defense is legitimate, and I do think they're going to slow down USC just a little bit. And I do think that he will see all 4 quarters in that game. I don't see him getting pulled early. I do see Grayson McCall getting pulled early against the Citadel. And if he isn't pulled early, that means they're not scoring. That means that they're struggling in this game and that Grayson McCall's value is not very high in that game regardless. Because I don't see the Citadel scoring on Coastal Carolina very well. In fact, I'm playing Coastal Carolina's defense in several leagues this week.
Yeah.
Versus our guys, which I kind of touched on earlier, CJ Stroud, Sam Howell, these are 2 very prolific offenses that these 2 quarterbacks will be helming. And I think they'll be in all 4 quarters in these games. These are 2 conference matchups that they'll be playing in. 2 that are expected to be at least close enough to where there's no point to these guys being taken out early on in the game. So I think that's where we're going to have the positional matchup or the positional advantage here against Nick Allen this week. So, Xavier, make the call. Look at our overall starting lineup. Look at his overall starting lineup. Who do you think pulls it out after this week? Do you think we start 1-0 or 0-1?
Oh, man. I've noticed over the past few years where we've done our home leagues and we started getting the fantasy. I think what makes or breaks our weeks are quarterbacks and running back play.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels weird because, obviously Nick has a great running back tandem that can do a lot, and it's going to be very painful and challenging watching them put up a lot of points. But I do like our quarterbacks playing in these closer games. Now, I happen to disagree with Jared where, he may think UNC may be a little hanging in there with Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech showed that they can, hang some teams and they throw a monkey wrench in their plans, but I just like UNC just a lot better than,
I'm just pointing out the spread in that game is -5.5 UNC. Like that, the odds makers think this is going to be a relatively close game.
Yeah, and the odds makers, they have the right to do that, but I just have more faith in Sam Howell. They have the right to make that call. They're odds makers for a reason. Now
They have the right to do that.
They have the right to do whatever they want and take your money however they want. It's whatever. But I do like Sam Howell as a talent. I do like some of the receivers that he has, and I think he's going to maximize that potential. And then also Ty Chandler at the same time. We have him. If he gets receiving work and a receiving touchdown, that works out double for us. So it's so many intricate ways that we can win, but it's the first initial reaction of looking at our teams on both sides, and I'm like, I don't see us winning week 1, but I do see a path. So I will give us the benefit of the doubt and say I think our receivers, our quarterbacks, and I think Ty Chandler is going to be our key player that will get us this win.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of looking through it again. Quarterbacks go us. Running backs, I think easily go Nick. Receivers, I think David Bell honestly just gives us that little bit of extra edge there.
Yeah.
Unless he completely falls apart this week. Tight end, I'm liking Michael Mayer playing full 4 quarters against Florida State over Isaiah Likely being taken out in the 3rd quarter, possibly with Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
This is going to be a close game. There's
I will say this.
Okay.
Oh, I'll say this. I noticed, we check our teams throughout the week. He did have a different guy in his last flex position, but he put in CJ Verdell.
Yeah, I think he had I think he had Reese White.
He had Reese White. Well, I was very confused about that. I like Reese White more than CJ Verdell, especially against the Citadel. Now, I guess he's expecting Grayson McCall to run a little bit more and show his rushing ability.
Maybe again, I think he's also just thinking about they're gonna Reese White isn't the clear-cut number 1 back yet. CJ Verdell is considered the clear-cut number 1 back for.
Well, no, it's Oregon. Or.
Well, yeah, you're right, but they're gonna be out on the field at the same time. They're still gonna get a ton of snaps.
Yeah, but CJ Verdell is not the greatest running back. I don't think. He'll have games, but it's just I don't like the consistency with him. It's always make or break.
I'm expecting a close game here between us and Nick. I think whoever wins, it comes down to probably less than 15 points.
Yeah, same here.
I would say. And I'm going to give us a slight edge. If I was an odds maker doing this, I would say probably us minus 3 or 5 points. I don't expect this to be a blowout game by any means this week. So,
but with fantasy football, it absolutely can be because we don't know what's going to happen.
You never know. David Bell goes down on the first play of the game.
God,
we're screwed.
That into existence.
We're screwed.
We're done for. Yeah.
So yeah, I think we have a shot at winning. Right, I think we have. I'd say we have it was 52% us, 48% Nick. That's how I'm kind of viewing this because I think that quarterback matchup is going to be huge for us this week. But regardless of all that, that's any other things you want to kind of talk about here, Xavier, before we close out this episode?
No, I was going to basically say we love the support. Don't forget to like and subscribe us on all podcasting platforms from Spotify to Apple Music. We enjoy the 5-star reviews, as Jared always likes to mention. I do as well too. Don't forget to DM us on Twitter if you have any questions. We love the DMs. When anything fantasy related, it always has us pondering about things. Let's see what else. Don't forget to follow us at CFF Jared. Follow me at CFF Xavier. And we're looking forward to the season. We have a great slate of games for this Thursday evening. I know we're gonna have that Minnesota and Ohio State game on the big screen mainly, but still some good games on tonight. So make sure you tune in for a lot of those. And
I could not have said it any better myself. Thank you guys all for listening, and we'll be back next week with our next week's matchup. Go ahead and tease who we playing next week. We're playing JD. Playing JD. He has a legal roster. He needs to get that fixed.
He'll probably figure it out eventually.
Yeah, he'll figure it out. Anyway, thank you all for listening, and we will see you guys next time.
Yeah.